So as NFL fans, we define crashouts as a player whose career or personal life has significantly deteriorated, often due to behavioral issues. Some of these could be controversies off the field, while some of these could just be related to concussions. Now, concussions by itself is a huge part of the NFL, with the league right now reporting about 141 concussions during the 2022 regular season, which is an 18% increase from the previous year in 2021. So these concussions could lead to CTE, which is going to be a very big part of this video. Now today we're going to be ranking NFL players who are so-called crashouts, and these are going to be based on the amount of concussions that each of these players have had, the amount of head trauma that they've had. So the rankings will go as follows. We have great kids. These are guys who are just divas on the field, and then we have problematic. These are guys that are divas on the field but actually do some crazy things. And then we have the CTE level, which is reserved for people who've actually done some heinous acts, and some of these guys actually have some crazy stories that we're gonna go over.
Three things in life that's certain: death, taxes, and 85 gonna always be open.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot start a crash out video without talking about Ochocinco. Ochocinco was one of the most entertaining players we've seen in NFL history. This man literally popularized his own phrase. Guys, there was no other trash talker closer to the level of Ochocinco. Ochocinco might actually be my favorite receiver of all time. I wish I was watching the NFL when Ochocinco played, because every DB out there could not keep up with his mouth. He was literally walking down the field talking crap. He was catching the ball talking crap.
Come on, I want you right there. If he had caught me, I would have had to retire.
I ever seen no menace on the field closer to Ochocinco, and this guy, guys, like, I have to do it. I have to put him in the great kid category because he didn't have a lot of concussions. He was just naturally a problem for everybody out there. He didn't have a lot of issues, but Ochocinco was definitely a crash out on the field. Now let's move on to one of the greatest receivers of all time, one of the most talented receivers we've ever seen in the NFL, in Antonio Brown. Now Antonio Brown had everything. He had the talent, he had the work ethic at some level of his career to become the greatest receiver the league has ever seen. Antonio Brown was breaking records. He was doing things that fans hadn't seen before. But then everything took a huge turn after this.
Two, Vontez perfect, and yes.
Now, it's come to a lot of people's attention that after that hit, Antonio Brown's entire career literally took a turn. Antonio Brown became a shadow of himself. He had a lot of behavioral issues throughout his career, and it ultimately led to him leaving the NFL. And I say all of that because if we look at the way Antonio Brown played football and actually just spoke before the concussion, we could see a clear difference.
Ben Roethlisberger said this week, you just might be the best receiver he has ever played with. How much did you pay him to get that out of him?
Man, I paid him a lot.
Right after that hit, everything changed, and you can literally hear it in his voice.
No,
This is the
listen.
worst case we've ever seen.
If you ever pass out, the NFL buy your brain. They tell nobody. They buy your brain.
Really?
Of course, they got to
NFL buys your brain after
Yes.
that.
Mental illness is contagious.
And after that, guys, he actually managed to pull off the greatest feat in crash out history, which is leaving a game whilst the game was still going on. Guys, Antonio Brown decided to leave his team in the third quarter and just quit. This is something we've never seen in the NFL before. And this is why he's one of the biggest crash outs of all time, one of the biggest what ifs of all time in the NFL, because if he could have actually been healthy, if that hit didn't happen, for example, Antonio Brown would 100% be a Hall of Famer, and a lot of kids would be aspiring to be this once great prodigy and actually great talented player. So with all that being said, I would put Antonio Brown not in the CTE category, actually, guys. I would put him in the problematic category, but this is almost pushing CTE because his entire life has been significantly changed by his crashing out, and it looks like everything he does kind of makes him seem like he is on the CTE spectrum. But right now, he is just problematic. Now, Antonio Brown is definitely problematic, and Ochocinco is a great guy. But again, guys, I want to move on to another receiver. For some reason, there's a lot of receivers on this crash out list. We're gonna take a look at the man himself, the legend himself, Terrell Owens. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think Terrell Owens had the energy on the field. One of the most energetic players. He does remind me of Chad. For some reason, I feel like they're the same person. Ochocinco and T.O., very cool guys, very much together when it comes to best receivers out there, and they definitely discuss this amongst each other.
Who's the better receiver sitting right here? Think about it.
Who's the better receiver?
Yeah. What kind of
Well, I think T.O. is one of the top 3 receivers in the history of the sport.
That's a
This rivalry will go on to definitely be one of the funniest but yet intriguing rivalries we've ever seen in the NFL. T.O. or Ocho? Guys, who do you think is the best receiver? I honestly think it was Ocho. If I'm trying to be a wide receiver, I'd rather copy Ocho's style. But we can't take anything from Terrell Owens because this man, ladies and gentlemen, was a crash out. And one of his craziest crash out examples was when he was at the San Francisco 49ers and he decided to do this after catching a touchdown versus the Dallas Cowboys. This man proceeded to run straight to the Dallas Cowboys logo in the center of a field to disrespect them. Like, why even do that? Why even do that? That is pushing George Pickens level. I could see George Pickens doing this, but I never knew back in the day we had T.O. causing mayhems like this in the NFL. Guys, Terrell Owens was the definition of don't give a fuck. This man literally cried on national TV defending his quarterback.
You can talk about the vacation, and if you do that, it's really unfair. It's really unfair. It's my team. It's my core.
Guys, this is why I'm going to look at Terrell Owens and say he wasn't a crazy crash out, okay? His concussion history isn't that extensive for me to say out here and say that he was problematic, but I will look at him as a great kid when it comes to the crash out category. Now, this next one is very, very obvious, ladies and gentlemen, and let's talk about him. Now, we all know George Pickens do some of the craziest thing we've seen in the NFL. This guy, for some reason, thinks that he is the NBA young boy of the NFL, and he brings that energy in every play. He will literally do things that makes no sense and that literally gives him no benefit just to cause issues. Like, what is this? What is that?
Hell no. No.
Now, guys, even though George Pickens has these behavioral issues, I do think that he's one of the most promising young receivers in the league right now, and he has shown a lot of flashes of brilliance. And for some reason, it seems like these Steelers receivers don't have a screw tight in their head. For some reason, these guys just do whatever they want, and they don't care about what you think. These Steeler guys, man, it's just crazy to me. But with all that being said, I would put George Pickens in the problematic category. I almost put him in great kid like it looks like in the thumbnail, but he is problematic. He's not just a great kid. This man is causing problems.
I'm telling y'all right now, if Trump don't win, he got cheated. If Kamala Harris wins, I'm out. I'm gone. Because y'all not really trying to make America great again. I'm gone.
So, if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I'm sorry. You guys have another crash out again in Le'Veon Bell, because this guy was one of the most problematic running back in the league. He didn't give a fuck again. That is the theme of these Steelers players. Le'Veon Bell was one of the best running backs when he was playing football. He was actually one of those players that showed patience and showed that running backs don't necessarily have to rush all the time. They can actually relax and find the hole. And Le'Veon Bell literally was revolutionizing his position at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Guys, this guy was crazy. Like, insanely talented, doing crazy shit on the field, literally waiting, walking behind the line to find a hole and run through it. No other running back doing his time was doing that. But for some reason, these crash outs, they just don't have patience. He literally forced his way out of the Pittsburgh Steelers by sitting out an entire season. He then joined the Jets, and as we all know, joining the New York Jets is literally how you kill your career. And bro didn't do shit, ladies and gentlemen. Now, after all that, our boy Le'Veon Bell is out here making a fool of himself on TikTok, and him and Antonio Brown actually managed to make one of the most CTE filled conversations I've ever heard in my life.
I wanted to ask you about Najee Harris. Is he alright?
Najee, he alright. Najee, alright.
He's not alright, LB. He's not getting the salary. He's not. I mean, to me, he's not alright. He's not getting the contract he want right now.
Hell no. No.
I'ma spare y'all, but Le'Veon Bell, people, is going in the problematic category, bro. This guy is not a great kid. Just gonna keep it like that. Now, let's move on to the problem child himself, DK Metcalf. This guy does not know how to control his temper. It feels like anyone can say anything, and DK Metcalf is ready to fight. He doesn't care who you are. He doesn't have any friends on the field. He will push any man down. He will fight any person that literally just speaks to him on the field. He's walking angry. He's the problem. He's the definition of concussion walking down the field, but he actually doesn't have a lot of concussions in his career. So even though he's one of the most disrespectful players in the NFL right now, and one of the people you don't want to mess with, DK Metcalf is not a problem child, okay? He's actually a nice guy. So let the guy be a great kid, because he is a great kid. He's bubbly. Look at him, bro.
Nighttime, I'm up at the right time. Sword damage, I say he get piped now. Demon baby, killing shit on sight now. Money crazy, stay with at least 100,000. Loaded, nigga know I'm in his bitches like I'm Ben Fields. Straight out them trenches, but I still.
From the beginning of the league's inception, crashouts have ran the NFL. From coked out of his mind Lawrence Taylor, who was so dominant he practically invented the sack and ended Joe Theismann's career in the process.
We'll look at it with the reverse angle one more time, and I suggest if your stomach is weak, you just don't watch. And we'll look at it with the reverse angle one more time, and I suggest if your stomach is weak, you just don't watch.
Legendary quarterback Joe Theismann never played another down of football.
To Ronnie Lott, the ultimate crashout, who after shattering his finger in a game, opted to have it amputated rather than miss a snap.
That hit that you make on that receiver is going to send out a message for the next team and the team after and the team after that.
Don't come in the middle anymore, because I'm waiting right here for you.
To OJ Simpson, a legendary running back who proved he could cut through defenses and other things off the field.
After we finished filming, OJ said to me that he had a surprise for me, and I genuinely was surprised. I think it was his idea of a joke, and this is it.
Well, I'm sure your dad or your grandfather has told you that your generation is soft and a bunch of pussies. Guess what? We have crashouts, and the 3 crashouts I'm gonna talk about today are up there with the best of them.
The time is gone. The time is gone.
I'm gonna be honest, if I saw my opponent come onto the field like that, I'm fucking leaving. Like, fuck that, it's not worth it. That guy is a fucking crash out. I am fully convinced that this fucking dude is part Wolverine. Cause who the fuck moves like this? Who walks like this? Who the fuck is crawling on a field? Yeah, Brian Dawkins was different.
But it goes something like this. While Ray Lewis is being celebrated by millions, 2 men tragically and brutally died in Atlanta.
Yeah, Ray Lewis, he fucking killed people. You know, not only off the field, but on the field. I mean, honestly, Ray Lewis is probably the hardest hitter in NFL history. What really made him a crash out, though, was his pre-game speeches. This guy's ability to get hyped up and hype others up was insane. Growing up, I used to watch Ray Lewis's hype speech on Madden 13, and that shit would get me turned. I mean, shit, he really got me feeling like OJ out there on the field. But if we're really gonna talk about who embodied the term crash out, it goes to none other than Brian Cushing.
But when I say, like, I swear to God, I was willing to die on the football field in any game, I was.
Fueled by a boatload of steroids and rage, Brian Cushing was a menace. He was out here headbutting people with no helmet on, bleeding all over the field. And he kept that same energy with his own teammates.
Come on, Blue, one more. Let's go, Blue, one more.
Blue, you're being called out. Let's go, Blue. You're being called out. Let's go.
I mean, first of all, you're not going to block me. Second of all, you don't want to fight me. Third of all, I'm the man.
In my humble opinion, we might never see another crash out like Brian Cushing. He is the ultimate crash out.
Stay out here for the first series. I'll go out by myself. Yeah. I'll do it. Seriously. 1 versus 11. I like my odds.
But, Peter, you're going to die doing this. You're going to die in that stupid costume. I know that there is nothing I can say to stop you from doing it. But I never in a million years imagined that I would be tossed off a bridge by a maniac or wiping your gunshot blood off my clothes so my mom doesn't see it. Someone is going to kill you. I can't do this.